And we are live with our 56th installment of Nansen Office Hours. GM, this is a real GM for me. It's 8 a.m. here in Singapore. Thank you for joining us today. Drop your own GMs in the chat, please. My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder and chief exploring officer at Nansen. Some people call me the token god. If you are new to our office hours, every Wednesday we do a Nansen and Chill session where we look at Nansen's new features, we answer questions from you, and we drop the occasional alpha leak. Today, we have a very special guest, Greg, who is community manager at Nansen. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Greg, and I'm a community manager for Nansen. Started about 3 months ago, and honestly, it's probably the best decision I've ever made. It's an amazing place to work. So thank you for having me on.
That's great. Yeah, we're super excited to have you on board. You've been doing an amazing job as community manager, especially in the Discord, where you've been setting up lots of different groups. In fact, we have a few like smart alerts group that you created recently for the Nansen explorers, right? Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So as part of my job, of course, it's moderating the Discord community. But with that, obviously, there's a lot of cool things we can do with the Discord server. One of which is, of course, setting up smart alerts. So if you're a current Nansen explorer, as in you have the Nansen Explorer role in the Discord, that basically entitles you to private channels, which also include 7 additional smart alerts that are basically all of our advanced smart alert features packed into like that one category where all Nansen explorers can pretty much just take advantage of all of the labels and triggers we have already. But yeah, the smart alert channels are super handy. I know even people on the marketing team use them every day as well, just to scoop out alpha, basically.
Amazing. Yeah, actually, I'm curious also, do you want to give a quick background? Like, what were you doing before you joined Nansen?
Yeah, definitely. So my previous job was as an internal auditor and human resources manager. So not really anything to do with crypto, unfortunately. But after the pandemic kind of, ruined everyone's plans, I guess you could say, that's pretty much when I got thrown into crypto full-time, unknowingly, and not really having any sort of plan. But I dove deep into DeFi and started learning about Ethereum, started tracking addresses quite heavily, and got really obsessed with Etherscan early on. And that kind of started my obsession, I guess you could say, with just like looking at data and trying to find what the smartest addresses are doing day to day. That's like, long story short, that's kind of what led me to Nansen eventually. So during DeFi summer, I was, yield farming and doing whatever I could because I didn't have anything else to do, right? But at the same time, I was also, studying, just trying to see how. I was also in school, so I was doing SQL on the side, so that kind of helped me with just, understanding everything from a tech side as well, but also understanding just, what is crypto, what is blockchain at the very core. And I got hooked instantly. So my background is also as a musician. I've been a musician my whole life. It's probably one of the things I would consider myself like the best at or most comfortable doing. And music and crypto, even though, at the face of it, you wouldn't say they're necessarily related, but, creators do need to make a living, and crypto kind of now enables that to happen through NFTs. And as soon as I saw the first, kind of rumblings of this happening in 2017, I got excited, but at the time I didn't really understand much of anything of what I was doing. So it wasn't until DeFi summer of 2020 that I guess you could say the puzzles kind of like fit together, and I realized like, oh wait, like everything I've been doing for the past 20 years, could finally be applied and monetized in a way where creators are benefiting and not corporations. So that's, long story short, how I found Nansen. I got into the Scouts program, and like, it was kind of hard for me to afford paying for things back then, but the Scouts program is amazing because it was like, hey, if you label some addresses, we'll give you VIP access to Nansen, plus we'll pay you a little bit on the side. So it was like, why not just apply for a job here?
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to detail a bit what this? You kind of summarized it there, but like what the Scouts program is?
Yeah, definitely. So the Scouts are the individuals basically helping our attributions team. So our attributions team are super smart, and they're the ones basically ensuring that all of the data that users see is correctly labeled, and basically they're the ones feeding us the alpha, you could say. So as a scout, it was pretty amazing because I got to see not only how Nansen is labeling all of these entities, but I was able to actually learn and apply it to how I pretty much look at my own investments and just crypto as a whole. So the Scouts program is great. We're currently still onboarding people, as far as I know. Our data manager Diego would know a little bit better, but we're onboarding users to pretty much help the attributions team label every single available blockchain that we have. And as part of that, there are monetary rewards, as well as a private Discord server that all scouts get pretty much accepted to. And yeah, there's I believe a weekly quota they have to maintain, but don't quote me on this because I haven't looked at the article in some time now.
That's great. I dropped a link actually to the form so people can apply if they're interested in the Scouts program. But yeah, it's cool. Like you've actually kind of come through the Scouts program. You're now a community manager full time with us. I was actually going to ask you about the piano in the background, but I'm glad you covered it. Did you also create your own music NFTs or?
Not yet, but that was definitely the plan. I think so. January 1st was the first time I ever deployed an NFT contract, but not to mainnet. So I'm still testing things out, learning as I go, and still on testnet. So I'll migrate to mainnet when I know what I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll get the chance to talk a bit about music NFTs in this this episode of Office Hours a bit later.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so without further ado, should we just dive into Nansen and start exploring?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll open up your screen here. So there's actually a lot of stuff to cover today with regards to like new features because the team has been shipping like crazy. But I always think it's fun to see how other people use Nansen. So maybe you can talk a bit about like how you use Nansen and what are some of the dashboards or features that you use the most.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, the very first thing you'd want to do, obviously, on the homepage is you probably want to know like what's happening with our brand new multi-chain hot contracts here. So honestly, the first thing I would do is just kind of go through this widget and see where smart money is going. We've heard on crypto Twitter inklings of this Platypus finance, so I know we'll probably want to look at that a little bit later. But the first thing I always do is actually just see, are there any unlabeled contracts? And if so, that's probably where the people are going, right? So I know just from doing some digging earlier that that first contract we're looking at is on Fantom. And I'm pretty sure this is the veDAO, which is they're purchasing the Andre Crone NFT, but I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of the DAO is. So
That's interesting. Yeah, it looks like it has lots of different assets here, and you can see some of the inflow into the wallet in terms of, I guess, yeah, it's mostly different tokens, right, that are being sent in here.
Yeah, I believe this is single-sided LP. Let me see. I have docs here somewhere. Yeah, so for Platypus Finance, yeah, basically what I do is just try to, or wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong, I'm looking at the wrong contract. We're looking at veDAO. So
Yeah. I guess, like, how did you find out that this is veDAO?
that is a great question. How did I get here? So we know it's on Fantom, and oh, I know why. So there was over 300 million in inflow, and I actually spotted that on crypto Twitter. So people started talking about this, and I went to the homepage and noticed that there were 34 smart money depositors, and that was an inkling to me, like, oh, hey, this is probably that project that Andre was teasing, but it's not his project. It's another project that wants to have some ownership in his project, basically. So that is how I found this one. But we can confirm this as well, right? Usually what I do is, I think we can go into GitHub, but I'm not sure if I'm logged in.
Yeah, so this is kind of like if you see something that is really fresh and hasn't really been labeled yet, and hot contracts can be helpful to surface stuff that you might want to look at more closely even before there's a tag added in Nansen, right? So here it's kind of like before there's even a label there, you'd want to maybe take the address like you were doing now, copying it just from the URL and pasting it into like GitHub or even Twitter or Etherscan or other sources, right?
Yeah, and then once you figure out, I guess, where you want to go further from here. For Wallet Profiler, if you have VIP, then the next best bet is obviously Wallet Profiler for token, right? And this is usually where I spend the most time. So only because this is where we see our smart money. And one cool trick, I guess I'll point this out now. If you have VIP or up, you can search just using the emoji, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, that's a pro.
Yeah. So I use this every day, but right away we can see that there are some interesting depositors in here. So could be interesting. We can look into this. But so I actually have not used Fantom at all. Perhaps you have, Alex, but
I have actually. I think maybe I used it this weekend. Yeah, I did. So yeah, maybe I should. We had someone from Fantom join us on office hours, and it was quite helpful actually. I spent this weekend actually looking at other chains. I was using Arbitrum, Fantom, and Avalanche. This weekend, I was in quarantine. It was the last few days of my quarantine here in Singapore after having traveled back home to Norway for Christmas. But yeah, so it's actually I kind of took some learnings from that as well. Like it's not super easy to get started with new chains actually, even EVM chains, and it's kind of a clunky user experience when you try to get started. You have to figure out like which bridge to use. You have to figure out like how to get money into that wallet. I mean, you can often just like buy whatever coin it is on Binance and withdraw it, but that's also pretty clunky experience. But yeah, I see you brought up the bridge builder here, and that was quite useful for me actually when I was trying to figure out which bridge to use for some of these chains. So yeah, do you want to talk a bit about the bridge builder dashboard?
definitely. So I also use this pretty frequently. In fact, I was gonna maybe backtrack just a little bit, and then we'll end up at Bridge Builder. So what I do almost every single day. I want to follow what, ETH outflows and inflows are doing. Or basically, I want to see what like the top holders of ETH are doing day to day. So usually what I'll do, I'll filter top transactions under ETH tracker, and I'll go by the most recent, and then just literally go through and see where people are sending their ETH. The reason I do this is because I've been noticing more and more bridge or people bridging their ETH to other chains or L2s. And one that I noticed was actually Tetranode bridging to Arbitrum. And I think I'll find it a couple pages down from here. But he was bridging 4,000 ETH. And I was like, oh, hey, that's kind of interesting. Like, are we expecting an airdrop maybe for Arbitrum?
Yeah, he's also using Liquidity I saw there, which is
Yeah, I
curious.
think that was he's pretty leveraged if I'm not mistaken. So that kind of makes sense. But like the reason I was pointing out ETH tracker is because I noticed him interacting with the Arbitrum bridge. I think the date may have passed, but anyways, you could see that he was interacting with this bridge here. So what I actually did is I just went into Bridge Builder and I wanted to see like which bridge contracts are being utilized the most. And it was interesting to see that Arbitrum actually hasn't been, the top, like the past couple of weeks, it's actually been Avalanche pretty consistently, which I thought was kind of interesting. But with, so with the bridge builder, what I usually do is if you go into the inbox, you can see who's been depositing ETH into the Arbitrum inbox. And all you do is go into counterparties, and then right away, like even Tetranode, I think, shows up here. But
Almost 1% of all the ETH going into the Arbitrum
yeah.
inbox is Tetranode. That's
Yeah, and so here, scrolling by or filtering by volume in ETH, we can see, how much he's actually put in. So that's kind of a significant amount going into Arbitrum. And then, we see MEV collector down here as well. So people are utilizing it, and it seems like a lot of the volume has been recent, if I'm not mistaken. So,
by the
and it's
way,
like, yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
did you watch the Tetranode episode on Up Only?
Of course,
It
twice.
was really good. Yeah,
Yes.
I highly recommend viewers to watch that. He's just a machine when it comes to yield farming and DeFi and everything crypto.
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely an amazing wallet to track. Just FYI for users that are here and don't know, you can right click and add it to, your watch list. I've already added it, so I can just, change the name and whatnot. But if you haven't, you'll see the star right here, and then you can always double check it by clicking watch list in the top right corner here.
Nice. So that's the bridge builder. And there's so many different features to cover, right? So there's bridge builder. We looked a bit at multi-chain hot contracts as well, which is how I discovered Platypus this weekend. Maybe I could talk a bit about Platypus, because if you go back to the home screen, you see Platypus there as well. Still, 2 out of the top 4 multi-chain hot contracts are Platypus. So yeah, if you click that one, I can at least explain how I was doing this. So I would like right click on this one exactly, and then go to like wallet profiler for token. I think I also put it up in token god mode to understand like what's actually going on here. And there were a few interesting. Yeah, there you go. That's the token address. I think it's also just already listed as like PTP in token god mode for Avalanche.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there are 2 contracts that are interesting to look at. I think we might see them both when we go into token god mode for PTP. if you go to notable wallets, then there should be like a base staking pool, exactly, which you see there. And then there's this, there's also the booster staking pool. There's also a Delphi Digital address there, which is cool. And if you scroll down a bit more, I think when you make it to like top balances, here we go. You can see like there's a portion of the tokens allocated for liquidity mining, which has been sent to other contracts. There's also a treasury. We don't have as complete tagging on Avalanche yet as we want, but at least this gives you like some indication of what's happening. I think the one I was looking at was probably this PTP booster staking pool. Do you want to like right click that and do wallet profiler for token on it? Because I want to just see if there's a way we can. Here we go. I see my own name there because I was aping into this. And so yeah, this, I think when I was looking at it on Saturday, Alameda was like the main wallet that was yield farming Platypus with like 20% of all the USDC. So just to give a brief overview of my understanding of Platypus, it's effectively kind of like Curve. It's like a stablecoin DEX. So it's optimized for similarly priced assets like US dollar pegged coins, USDT and USDC and so on. And in order to bootstrap the liquidity of that DEX, they are effectively, they have a liquidity mining scheme. So the way it works is that maybe you can go to like platypus.finance.
Yes.
And we can see, you might even, yeah. And so you can go to launch app, or just go to launch app for now. And you can go to pool. So the swapping thing is kind of like Curve. You swap from USDC to USDT. The pool is where it's a bit interesting when it comes to yield farming. And this is why like we saw Alameda having, I think they had deposited $20 million of USDC when I started looking at this weekend. The pool was about 100 million in total, so they were like 20%. Now the pool is 206.8 for USDC at least. And the way it works is that you can deposit USDC here or any of these other tokens. But then if you have the PTP token, the Platypus token, you can stake the Platypus token, you can earn voting escrow PTP or VEPTP, and the more of those you own, the higher the yields are going to be. So the higher the sort of PTP rewards you're going to get from your stablecoin deposits are going to be. So, you know, no financial advice here. This is,
Right.
This is risky stuff, but I found this pretty interesting. And it's kind of like, it's a bit like Curve, but it's almost like it has the sort of convex finance layer built into it, without going too deep down the rabbit hole. But if you can just go back to the Platypus page and then you click on the VEPTP tab, that one. Yeah, exactly. So this is where like you're staking PTP and then you're accruing VEPTP. And the more VEPTP you have, the more yields you get on your stable coins, basically. And I think the way it works is that if you unstake your PTP, then your VEPTP balance drops to 0 or something like that. So you kind of you're incentivized to just like put these PTP tokens in there and just leave them there and keep adding on to them, like by claiming from the farm and then sort of redepositing that in. But yeah, so I went kind of a bit down the rabbit hole in this one this weekend, and it was pretty cool to see, like, you can see Alameda here. Now you can see Delphi Digital as well. I think they had less tokens when I looked at them earlier, but now it looks like they deposited even more. Probably they were an advisor or investor in this project. Anyway, that's a lot of talk about Platypus. So that's kind of how I discovered it and thought it was pretty interesting. And I think I put like 1 ETH or something worth of PTP into that staking pool and having some fun with it.
Nice. I did not, just for clarification.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
one of us aped in. But yeah, I mean, it is. I have to say, it was pretty smooth. Like using Avalanche, like it feels like Ethereum in 2018 with regards to like the low gas costs. But then it's faster, right? And then you of course have much more dApps and stuff like that than you had for Ethereum back then. So it's kind of a nice. I understand why people get into these like non-Ethereum EVM chains.
Oh, it makes sense. Everyone wants to be early, or capture some percentage of being early. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Cool. So
Awesome.
what else? Yeah, anything else you want to look at on that side? We have a million things to cover that I have on the sideline. If you don't have any
Yeah, we can
specific.
keep going down the list. No problem.
Yeah, so we have some like multi-chain dashboards that we could show people as well that are new. So on the sort of left side of the screen here, at the bottom, sorry, yeah, that one. Then there are a few new things. We just launched the Optimism dashboard last night in
Oops.
Singapore time. And so this is going to show you a bit of an overview of the Optimism ecosystem. So this is very high level. And in fact, if you're watching Nansen and you don't have a Nansen account, these dashboards are actually available for free. So you can go to pro.nansen.ai/multichain/optimism and you can see this stuff. And the idea is that this should be helpful for like the broader ecosystem. I was a bit surprised to see how big Chainlink is on Optimism. It's like more than 50% of the events that we're tracking from smart contracts, and then synthetics is also quite big, the number 2 on there, and Hop Protocol. But this is like before jumping into a new EVM. It's pretty nice to just have a glance at the ecosystem dashboard because it gives you an idea of what people are actually doing on the chain.
Right. Yeah, I was actually going to mention Hot Protocol because I know this is the first bridge I think I used going to. I think you can go to Polygon and Arbitrum. I'm
Hmm.
assuming Optimism now too. Um, but yeah, I've been using that one pretty consistently.
Nice. I think I also tried it out at some point. It's pretty complex now to figure out like all these different bridges, but the bridge builder dashboard that we looked at earlier can also be quite helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we also have there are a few other things. So there's also the Ethereum multi-chain dashboard, which is kind of ironic that we hadn't shipped one of those before, but it gives some stats on like the ecosystem of Ethereum. Here, because there are so many different dApps, our coverage is going to be a bit lower with regards to like the smart contract events. But we still, of course, have very good coverage. I'm 99% sure that we have the best coverage on Ethereum in the world when it comes to tagging up smart contracts, entities, and so on. But yeah, so this kind of complements the I think gas tracker dashboard to some extent, and also the ETH tracker one that you were showing us earlier.
Yeah, exactly. I would most definitely use the ETH tracker in this one just to kind of get a overview glimpse into what's happening with ETH. It's nice to see, daily active addresses just, remaining, what is it? Yeah, 466,000 or so.
Yeah, it's pretty
So it's
cool.
been growing.
Yeah, it's also pretty insane looking at that gas chart in like USD. Just seeing, at some point, of course, from the user perspective, it's not so nice that gas goes up. As an ETH holder, I think it's been quite positive. But it's pretty wild how it really started pumping. I guess it was DeFi summer actually. That very first kind of blip before, like in mid 2020, right? Yeah,
Oh
here.
yeah, yep.
That's when it really
Uh,
kicked off.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Gas was like, it did get to a point where it started getting expensive, but it wasn't horrible. Like, we still
Yeah.
used it. Everyone used it. Like, I probably shouldn't have been using it or wasting my ETH at the time, but I did. But
Yeah.
here, I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty
Just
wild.
exploded.
I also remember how, yeah, it was like, oh man, it's like $10 for a transaction. That's ridiculous. And now it's not unusual to have like $100 or $200 transaction.
Oh yeah,
depending on-
$10 transaction. I don't remember that in ages.
Yeah, of course, like that chart will be colored by the price of Ether as well, right? So as the price of Ether goes up, this chart will go up. Yeah, so that's multi-chain. There are a few dashboards to look at. Someone, by the way, someone posted here in the chat about Arbitrum. So maybe we can look at the Arbitrum multi-chain dashboard
Yeah,
as well and
definitely.
see what we find there. It would be pretty cool, actually, like you pointed out earlier. You know, we could see that Tetranode is like 1% of all the ETH coming into Arbitrum. It could be maybe interesting to have some of this on the multi-chain dashboards as well to understand, like, you know, where the money is coming from.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see just how much someone at like Tetranode, massive giga whale like him, how much they move markets or bridges.
Yes. By the way, Walter is saying that Tetra is bridging to buy DPX. In fact, we could actually look at Tetra's address on Arbitrum and see if there's anything that pops up, right? So even from here, yeah, you can look at it in Arbiscan, but you can also just look within Nansen on the wallet profiler. If you just switch, if you just go to the wallet profiler and then up to the left, you can just switch which network we're looking at. Insane activity, by the way, on on Ethereum. Like,
yeah. So we wouldn't be able to check it for Arbitrum though.
Oh, you're right, because Arbitrum
Not
hasn't
yet.
checked it, which is what Walter was asking about. Can the devs do something?
Soon.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, maybe this is where I would point out our feedback.nansen.ai. If you guys haven't checked it out, be sure to check it out and upvote any of the feature requests you see there, because I definitely want to see Arbitrum on Nansen. I use it and I think it would be great. So upvote it, please.
Absolutely. Let me drop a link here as well. So yeah, for now, I guess you're left with Arbiscan. The problem is, well, I guess for one address, it's okay, but Etherscan is amazing, but I feel like you don't get that sort of executive summary very easily. You have to kind of like dig a lot through lots of individual transactions, which makes it hard to like surface the signal, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're pretty much staring at just, full addresses, not human readable language.
Mm.
But yeah, it looks like he's been interacting with Dopex. I know he's pretty involved with the team in some way. I'm not exactly sure how, but yeah, he's pretty big into Arbitrum. And what other projects are on here? Oh, Small Brains, I know, is pretty big one as well. I know most of the addresses that I track on Arbiscan are usually doing something on Treasure Marketplace or something to do with Small Brains.
Do you have a small brain? I bought the small brain the other day, actually.
No, unfortunately not.
But
But they're amazing.
Your Twitter name is like Small Block, right? Is that just a
I
coincidence?
know. Yes, it was before Small Brains, I think, existed.
Wow. You're a small OG. Okay.
Small OG, yes. I'll need to get an honorary Small Brain.
Yeah, I think you do. So actually, maybe going back to the Tetranode wallet, we don't yet have Arbitrum, but it could be nice to see which other chains he's active on. So you could still select like, let's say like Fantom, maybe click on that, and we can see and it's probably going to take a bit of time to refresh since last someone looked at this. But it looks like at least May 2021 there were some transactions happening. It's a little bit slim, this one, although you can see like the top interacting wallets, for example.
Right.
Frozen yogurt. Okay.
I don't know what that is,
Royal
but
Estate.
someone got an airdrop.
Interesting. And then, okay, so that's like he did something on Fantom. What if you go on
Yeah.
like Avalanche, for example? This one is a bit more stripped down. Like we have to add more widgets to the Avalanche wallet profiler. No tokens.
Nothing.
What about if you go? So I guess it appears he might not have used Avalanche with this specific wallet. What about Polygon? April, yeah. So like looks like April, May he was first exploring some of these other chains.
I wonder if he might be on Optimism then, because it seems like he's probably a layer 2 person.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I guess with his size, like you can farm very successfully even on just Ethereum. But yeah, I think there are still a lot of opportunities on L2s and stuff like that.
Yeah, nothing for Polygon.
Yeah, not so much. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So a few things we haven't looked at in terms of features. Did we? I don't think we showed the news section we now have on the homepage.
We did not. Let's do that. All right, so yeah, on the homepage now, we have a dedicated section for market news called GM Digest. And I would highly recommend checking this every day just because it's curated news. So, instead of having to open up any additional tabs, you can just, do it all directly from your window. So, got Mechanism, BitMEX, a bunch of other stuff. So, I don't think there was anything particularly interesting, maybe. Or EIP 1559 on Polygon. That was cool. Definitely something to,
cool.
Keep in mind.
Mm.
But that's what GM Digest is for. So highly, highly recommend going through it. If you want to search through any specific, headlines, I think there was one with Mr. Vitalik at some point. So if you have VIP and up, you can just search through all of them. Very, very useful.
That's cool. I might actually read that Mechanism news piece afterwards. It sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, play to earn is pretty big right now.
Are you into like play to earn or like GameFi?
I've been studying it right now. I haven't been invested in anything. So, but yeah, just like I think you were actually one of the first people to kind of mention like, hey, play to earn is probably going to be big. So I think since then I've been trying to study up as much as I can. But it's one of those areas that I've never been a big gamer, but all of my friends are, and I understand the appeal. So I'm sure this is going to be a pretty big sector to watch out for in the coming months.
Yeah, I guess your passion is more in music, as we see with the piano in the background. Is this a good time to talk a bit about music NFTs? I actually did place a bid on a music NFT from Song a Day a while back. And I think his project is really cool. Unfortunately, I got outbid in the last minute. I tried to buy the Pudgy Penguin song that he made.
That was a very good song. I enjoyed that.
yeah, it is cool. But have you looked at like other music NFT projects or?
I have. So I was gonna show basically. So like OpenSea has some rankings that I think are pretty useful for this. The music section, as of recently, has been blowing up, and it's kind of interesting when you look at it and kind of analyze who's doing what. Basically, you see Audioglyphs has been leading the way recently. And I remember the office hours I think you and Daniel had where you guys both talked about audioglyphs coming out. And, at the time, no one really, I think, caught on to what they were really doing. But recently, it seems music NFTs are kind of on a comeback. And so these three projects, I own an Audioglyph and a couple Synthopias, but I don't own a song a day, so just keep that in mind. But Synthopia was a project by Grammatic, and it incorporates audioglyphs to create a audio visual generative, NFT basically. So the way it works is very cool. I'm probably not doing a great job at explaining it, but if you go on OpenSea and just kind of play any of these random ones, you'll see that it's all generative, and the triggers or the audio patches that they're actually using are from the Audioglyphs DAW or digital audio workstation. So as I mentioned before, I'm a music nerd. I'm a producer as well, so like this kind of stuff is super into my lane. But what's interesting about Synthtopia is it pretty much allows a way for us to like quantify or give a value to modular synthesis, which we've never really had a way to do that before. Because modular synthesis is you're dealing with a bunch of modules on a usually like a giant wall, and you're tweaking a bunch of knobs, and there's no real way for like a musician or a creative person who does modular synthesis to just take that whole stand and put it on a stage and do a performance. Like, you don't do that. You can, but it's hard to do that as well. So what I thought was very cool, Synthtopia, they basically took the audio glyphs, like files, I guess you could say, and Synthtopia basically plays them through a web browser, web API. So it kind of gets rid of all the hardware and costs associated with producing music as well. So there's a couple of very cool aspects to it. First, obviously, audio generative artwork is awesome. Generative music is awesome as well. But uh, permissionless music making and that kind of stuff is amazing. That's I think where we're going with this industry. So I thought it was interesting to look at OpenSea's ranking section and just kind of see like where we've been going. Clearly, audioglyphs have been leading the charge, because without them we wouldn't have this one, right? And then like Song a Day, obviously that's a completely different project, but I also like what Jonathan Mann has been doing, and it's a very cool concept. I hope more creators get involved with music NFTs or NFTs in general, just because it pays to it. Yeah, it just pays to be a creator in the NFT space right now.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at these collections in NFT God mode here in the background.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
Synthopia in particular has like pumped big time in volume. I guess the volume is still pretty small, but like it pretty much exploded yesterday in volume.
Yeah, so I think the reason it may have exploded was because seedphrase.eth bought a couple, by a couple, I think he swept the floor of audioglyphs. And if I'm not mistaken, this pump that we saw with Synthtopia came right after the audioglyphs pump. So let's take a look at NFT God mode for audioglyphs. And then under breakdown, I'll actually just search using our emoji.
It's such a simple trick. I never used that. That's so funny. You just filter out literally all the smart money.
Yeah. Oh, seed phrase is not showing up. I wonder.
Pranksy is there as well. Yeah.
Is he not? Oh, he's not smart money. Interesting. So yeah, yesterday, 23 hours ago, he bought 48 audio glyphs.
Good catch.
Yeah, and then he made a Twitter post as well, basically talking about music NFTs. I'm not going to pull it up though, because I don't know which Twitter account I'm logged into. But yeah, so audio glyphs. I wonder how much he spent on this, and I wonder if he used Genie to sweep.
Looks like it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. And he spent not that much.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
not
I see.
2.2 Ether for all of those.
Yeah, that's not a lot. But audio glyphs also, like I mentioned before, I think before Seed Phrase actually purchased this bunch, they weren't really performing all too well. But that's another thing that I was going to mention. Like, going into music NFTs with the idea of profiting like immediately is probably a horrible idea, because the music NFTs are notorious for being very illiquid. I've had my fair share of, like, obviously I'm passionate about music NFTs, so like I saw a couple cool ones come out before, and after purchasing them, no one else thought the same. So I'm just sitting with a couple illiquid ones, but maybe that'll change in the future. Who knows?
I guess they're not that well suited as profile pics are for like social media and things like that, right? Profile pics, obviously, or avatar projects, you can use them as profile pics, which spreads the word and people get excited about it. It's harder to share these music NFTs, and sometimes they're perhaps a bit more like too abstract or complex, like audio glyphs, right? It's like not something that you'd sit down and like necessarily enjoy. Maybe Song a Day. Maybe Song a Day is like the most shareable project in that sense. Like it's very, like he has a good Twitter, and it's it can go viral. Like the Pudgy Penguin song, which I bid on and sadly lost. That was very funny, and like it had tons of engagement on social media.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really smart of Jonathan actually to be doing that. That's pretty like a marketing trick, I think, but it's working out in his favor. Obviously, like Pranksy bought 100 and a couple other smart money. Let's actually, one thing I was kind of hoping we could do is have like a toggle. I'm not even talking about the emoji here necessarily, but like a toggle just for smart money to click and immediately get all of these. Just because sometimes it's kind of hard to copy this, right? Or you don't really know what you're looking for. But yeah,
it's
in
a
this
great
case,
point. This is why it's so cool to see other people using Nansen, because like there's always these like tips or tricks that you've never thought about, and this one seems like when you show it, it's like so obvious that you would do this, but it just really sort of cleans up the signal very clearly, right?
yeah, another trick. I mean, if you have VIP, that is searching for common words. I guess like capital would be one of them. If you find a capital, chances are it's going to pump. Maybe not. Don't listen to me. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's nice watching other people do it. That's why I was watching Office Hours for such a long time, just to see how you guys do it.
Oh, I see. Wifey well.
Oh.
At the top there.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it's really cool. I was thinking of buying one of Jonathan's songs just to support him. But
yeah, he's a cool guy. Like, and it's such a good example of like this would never work in the record label era, but now with NFTs, he can live off of that. That's his thing. He also has a DAO, right? It's like Song a DAO, I think it's called. So you basically like vote with the NFTs or something like that.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna see more of these types of things, in the future. His would be a DAO, I think, for Synthopia. There are Theirs are gonna be like concert tickets, and yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of cool use cases you can get with NFTs, and yeah, music NFTs are just gonna kind of change the way artists are paid. But yeah, that's my whole spiel. I don't want to keep people talking about music NFTs if they're not.
I think it's super interesting. I mean, but I think also in terms of Nansen features, we are working on a few things that I think are relevant here. Like we have the blue chip index, but why shouldn't you have indices for certain categories of NFTs? Like the NFT landscape has kind of entered this phase now where it's extremely hard to keep track of everything. And so looking at individual collections, sometimes it's too much work. So what if you could instead look at sectors of NFTs, like music NFTs or generative art NFTs or gaming NFTs? And so we are working on a few things where, at the macro level, it'll be easier to understand which sectors are hot right now and like where do you see a lot of volume and so on at the aggregate level for certain sectors. But then you could also use that to sort of filter out stuff, right? Like if you look at NFT Paradise, and you can say, just show me the gaming collections, then you can much more quickly filter through that. Just like we're doing now with OpenSea, right? You have that music category, and so we should have something similar where you can filter it down, but obviously you get way richer analytics with Nansen than you do on OpenSea.
Yeah, that would be an amazing feature to have. Actually, there's one thing, if I could request since I'm on here.
Of course you can.
Is there a way for us to have like contracts verified, but in Nansen? Because we already do this with NFT Paradise. If you filter by the deployed date, you're practically getting what Etherscan shows with contracts verified, but it's pretty much just filtering NFTs, right? So if it'd be really cool, because I always check contracts verified just to see if people are deploying anything, whether
Mm.
it's an LP farm or just, whatever. But it'd be really cool if there was a specific dashboard that we could just go into, instead of having to, rely on like Etherscan or any of the other ones.
So this is a feed that shows the latest verified contracts, or
Yeah.
maybe you can show it on Etherscan. I'm not super familiar with that specific section.
Yeah, basically, it's all of the verified contracts that have been deployed as they go. So,
And
you'll
and it's sorted by time, right? So you kind of get the latest
Mhm.
ones. Yeah,
Exactly. Like I used this when I was a scout, actually. This was how I did most of my I guess you could say assignments, but you can see like some of these are either meme coins, right, or NFTs, but the other ones I feel like can sometimes have some goodies in there, some random micro caps or random yield farms that no one else has found.
yeah. So this is kind of like almost the step before hot contracts, right? So
Yeah,
there's going to be like
exactly.
more noise here in a way, but you could sometimes find really valuable stuff.
Yeah, I think having a way for users to add or get rid of the noise would be really cool, because sometimes you do want to have the noise, right? If
Mm.
that's what
Yeah.
you're looking for. Um, I obviously, in Nansen's case, a lot of the stuff we do look at is already curated, and like it's made it so it's easier for us to look at everything. But yeah, sometimes there are instances where you do want to see whatever is before hot contracts. Um, and yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because in NFT Paradise, if like I mentioned, you can um, sort by the contract date, the date it was deployed by, and then you can see even if people aren't buying the NFT, like you'll still see it because it was deployed.
Mm. Yeah, I like that idea. We should explore it more. It feels like it should be possible to make a sort of higher alpha version of this view. So,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that with contracts verified, I would use GitHub pretty consistently to get even more alpha. But yeah, that's just like a random tidbit for whoever's listening.
Yeah, great. So I'm just trying to see if there are things we haven't covered in terms of new features. I'm not sure we mentioned that Token God Mode and Wallet Profiler are now available for Ronin as well.
No.
So that's something that people might want to be aware of. Ronin, of course, is the chain of Axie Infinity. It doesn't have that many tokens yet, but we can at least have a quick look. It's pretty cool, actually. I have to admit, I have not looked at this yet, so it's fun seeing it in action here live. I guess the main dexes here would be, so Binance and Katana, which is the sort of Uniswap fork on Ronin. This is pretty cool, actually, because I think the Ronin ecosystem is kind of like an island in many ways. Like it's kind of like detached from everything else, and of course it was originally built for Axie Infinity. I personally think it's gonna become more like an app store for blockchain games, where you will have lots of different projects. Maybe some of them are backed by the Axie team or the Sky Mavis team who created Ronin, but of course, you'll probably get other games on there as well. And when you have several million gamers who have a Ronin wallet installed in their browser, it just seems like a no-brainer if you're creating a game to deploy on Ronin. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Those people are like literally there to play blockchain-powered games. Why wouldn't you just tap into that instead of potentially competing with all the stuff that's happening on like Ethereum or other chains, right? So I think the strategic aspects of, should you deploy on Ronin or another chain or your own chain? Like, it's very interesting to see how that's going to play out this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious. What do you think will, actually happen? Because I haven't necessarily seen too many like play to earn games on other networks, but then again, I haven't been like specifically looking out for them.
So what do I think will happen with regards to like if people will use Ronin or if
Yeah,
they
I
will?
mean, if people will actually be, using other chains for gaming, because I
Yeah.
can see like this happening with Ronin, obviously.
Yeah. So I think first of all, Ethereum is probably not ever gonna. I mean, like Ethereum L1, at least
Right.
with the current gas costs and so on, is and also the transaction throughput is probably not going to work for games, right? So then you're kind of left with L2s, other EVM chains, and other non-EVM chains. And I think I've definitely seen some traction on Solana gaming there because the gas costs are very low and it has very
Yeah.
high transaction throughput. For example, Mixmob, which is a project I've invested in, are launching on Solana, and they also have NFTs already on Solana. Then there are a few other ones that I think are more open-ended. I should probably know this, but there's another project that I backed called Cypher. I'm not sure they've chosen which chain. I mean, the NFTs are on Ethereum.
Yeah.
But presumably the game itself will not directly integrate with Ethereum. So have to see, how that plays out. The core team is based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, which is where most of the Axie people are. So who knows? Maybe they'll
Yeah.
end up on Ronin. Um, and
Interesting.
and then I think there was some stuff going on with Arbitrum. I think the gas costs, honestly, for Arbitrum as well are going to be too high for like gaming, and depending on how, like with Ronin, you have 100 transactions free every day when you have a verified account
Oh,
associated
that's
with
cool.
your wallet. So it just makes it so much more accessible to people who don't necessarily have, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in crypto already. So yeah, I think it's kind of like maybe a missed opportunity to just launch on Ronin. I should also say I'm a Sky Mavis investor and Axie investor, so full disclosure there. But I do think it makes sense to launch there, given that that's where you have all the players, you have guilds set up to integrate with Ronin and all these different things.
Yeah, it makes sense. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, we're actually up on the hour now, so we might have to wrap it up. But circling back to the very first point you mentioned about smart alert channels in Discord, what's the call to action for people there? Do they just kind of ask to get that role added, and then if they are existing subscribers, and then they can get access to the Explorer section? Is that how it works?
Yeah, great question. So in the Discord server, let me pull this up. You're going to want to go into our support tickets channel and just create a ticket and just drop your email address in the chat. So if you are a existing Nansen subscriber and you're paying $149 a month or more, then just drop the email in there and any of our support reps will add you to the Nansen Explorer role. Once you get the role, you'll see a whole new category pop up under Nansen Community, and it's just going to be labeled Nansen Explorer. With that, you'll get 7 additional Smart Alerts channels, which is pretty useful if you're only a standard subscriber. And then all of the other channels are just normal chat channels.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Greg. It was great having you on Office Hours. Hope to see you back here soon. So that's a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. If you did, then please give our video a thumbs up and share it with all your friends. Remember to subscribe to our channels, to our channel, singular, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any alpha leaks. Thank you very much. Thanks, Greg, and we will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.